If you are visiting with us this morning, or if this is your first experience of a service of the blessing of the animals, a few words of introduction are in order. The service has been held here at First Pres annually for over 20 years. It was part of the custody agreement we made when Wendy and I came here as co-pastors. When we were called to be the pastors of this congregation, with that call came the service of the blessing of the animals. They were grandfathered into the deal. The service itself is part of the celebration of the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi. The feast day of St. Francis is every October 4th, but that date quite often coincides with our annual celebration of World Communion Sunday, so we have moved the blessing of the animals to the last Sunday of September. St. Francis was known to celebrate the evidence of God in creation. His famous prayer, which is at the heart of our opening hymn, All Creatures of Our God and King, speaks to his witness that everything in the created order bears witness to God and God's first work of creation. And that is really why we celebrate this service. At least once a year, we intentionally remind ourselves of the opening words of the Apostles' Creed. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. We celebrate the Creator. We celebrate the creation. And we are reminded of our responsibility as stewards of creation. God created the world with a sense of balance. The interconnectedness of everything in the world is something everyone is beginning to experience and understand. But that has not always been the case. There was a time when we humans thought that the world was ours to do with as we pleased. We heard the biblical mandate, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. And that's what we did. We interpreted have dominion as do as you please. And we did as we pleased with the soil, the air, and the water. And because there weren't as many of us, and because we lived in less concentrated communities, no one noticed too much damage. But then we got fruitful and multiplied. And there were more people, but the same amount of earth. Things got crowded. Things got congested. Things got smoky and grimy. Things got depleted. Some things even became extinct. In fact, in North America alone, since the time of the founding of our nation in 1776, thousands of species of mammals, reptiles, birds, and amphibians have disappeared completely, not to mention trees and flowers and some kinds of grass, not to mention the loss of irreplaceable minerals from the soil, not to mention the waters that have been poisoned and made non-potable. The Bible's use of the word dominion is not a license to do as we please. The word means to be stewards, managers, wise overseers of what God has created. The web of life is as fragile as a spider's web. And when we are less than careful, the web is torn. Sometimes it can be repaired. Sometimes it is gone forever. When we live selfishly, without regard to how much we use and how easily it is replaced, we threaten death to the planet entrusted to our care. When we pay little or no attention to our rate of consumption, we exploit and despoil the creation, and we mock the Creator. When we overconsume this planet and its resources, we place ourselves in undeniable jeopardy. But every now and again, we can go back and heal the brokenness we created. Included in your bulletin is a link to a video that you can watch on YouTube. It's also in this week's Connect. You can just click on it and it'll take you there. It is a presentation of what happened when, in 1995, just 22 years ago, wolves, which had been hunted to extinction within the bounds, were reintroduced into Yellowstone National Park. Wolves had been the apex predator, but they had all been killed off within the boundaries of the park. What happened since then? No one could have expected. When wolves were reintroduced, deer avoided some of the areas of the park that they had frequented. When the deer left, plants began to grow in those areas. And then aspen and willow trees began to reappear. That really got things moving. The trees and the bushes brought more berries and more bugs. Various bird species began returning to the park. Increased tree population brought back other species of birds. And then beaver, also previously extinct within the park, returned. The beavers dammed the rivers, and that attracted otters and muskrats and various species of reptiles. The wolves eliminated the coyotes, and all of a sudden the mice and the rabbit population was growing. That attracted foxes, weasels, badgers, and hawks. The population of bald eagles within Yellowstone began to grow. And then the wolves changed the rivers. That sounds strange. But with a better balance between prey and predator, other species began to thrive. Increased vegetation, decreased erosion along the rivers. The riverbanks stabilized. The rivers narrowed. Deeper pools formed. Rivers stayed within their fixed courses. The wolves not only brought new balance to the Yellowstone ecosystem, they changed the park's physical geography. Now, why am I telling you all of that? Because it teaches us that it is never too late to move the creation toward wholeness. This creation of God's delight, broken though it may be, can be restored. But it means that we will have to begin seeing the creation as a fragile web of which we are only a part. We are not alone in creation. We are part of this interconnected web of life, and we are the only ones within that web with the power to effect significant change. We are the only ones who can clean the soil, the air, and the water. We are the only ones who can protect the viability of every species of animal and every species of plant. We are the only ones who can do anything about the scientifically proven disaster which is climate change. All of us, as stewards of God's creation, for all of us, this is not just a matter of survival. It is a spiritual matter. As God's people, we have been charged by God to care for the creation. It is no different than any of the 10 commandments or any of the other laws and commandments God has given us. Care and proper stewardship of the planet is not an option for anyone who believes in God. Full stop. we are not alone on this planet. We are surrounded by other living beings, and we have a responsibility to them. But more than that, we have a responsibility to God. It is our obligation to preserve, protect, heal, and care for this world of God's making. The care of the earth and all its creatures and plants is holy work given to us by God. We are not alone. We are but a part of a much larger web than we care to see. We are not alone. And when such a calling to repair and care for the broken creation seems an impossibility, remember these words, also attributed to St. Francis. Start by doing what is necessary. Then do what is possible. And suddenly you'll be doing the impossible. Give thanks to God for the gift of this creation, and give yourself to its continued care and healing, for now and evermore. Amen.